What's up guys, TopTierYugioh here, and today we have a Zoodiac True Draco deck profile. And this is probably one of the best, if not the best deck of the format when you think about the card advantage it can generate, the powerful boards it can create, and then the ease at which it breaks opposing boards. I mean, it's insane, and I don't think we've seen a deck that was this powerful ever before. And so if you want to see it in action, let me know if you'd like to see some duel videos with this deck. There is going to be a poll in the top right corner of the screen. I've been testing with this deck a lot, so I've got a lot of replays. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this profile, and then at the end, there's going to be a really cool combo I want to show you. And it's only a 2-card combo, but you plus a lot. And so be sure to stick around until the end if you want to see that. So let's go ahead and get into the profile. This is a 40-card deck with 20 monsters, 18 spells, and then 2 traps. And we're going to kick off the monsters with 3 Masterpiece, the True Dracoslaying King. We all know what this guy does. Masterpiece is one of the best cards of the format. He really changes how you have to build your decks, and then how you have to play around the format as well. And so you're going to notice that I didn't play any other True Draco monsters. I did test them, but ultimately I chose against them because whenever I drew them, I really just wanted a Masterpiece instead. And this deck tends to win by like building strong boards that your opponent can't break, and then you just like kill them that next turn. So like you do your Luna Life play, you draw a bunch of cards, you end with like Trident Masterpiece, and your opponent just can't beat that, and that next turn you just beat them. But if that Masterpiece was like a Dynamite, or maybe a Majesty Maiden instead, it wouldn't be nearly as good. And those cards aren't bad, but they don't necessarily contribute to this deck's win condition as much. And so the smaller True Draco monsters give you more card advantage, but I'm not really looking for extra card advantage out of these plays. So once I tribute summon, I don't want any more card advantage. I've built enough card advantage to tribute summon. So out of that tribute summon, I want to get something else. I want to get some tempo, and then really be able to stop my opponent's plays and then kill them that next turn. And Masterpiece having, over almost 3,000 attack is really relevant for that. And so far I've been really successful with just the 3 Masterpieces and no other True Draco monsters. So then for the Zoodiac engine, we play 2 Zoodiac Rat Peers. Of course, you play as many rats as you possibly can. This card is insane. Next, we play 1 Ram Ram. And now Ram Ram has a lot of really cool synergy with the True Draco engine because you can destroy with Diagram to trigger the effect. So that gives you a way to destroy it from your hand without having to summon it or send it to the graveyard and then bring it back with Leica. So it synergizes very well with your True Draco engine. And that also allows you to get more monsters on field to tribute for your tribute summon for your Masterpiece. So Ram Ram is very good, and if there was more space, I would even play 2. Like, it's almost always good to have in this deck, which is something I can't quite say about the other 2 Zoodiac monsters. And so Thoroughblade and Whiptail are both very good, but they're both only good in very specific situations. I think Whiptail is definitely necessary as it gives your engine a little bit more utility against monsters that maybe can't be targeted or can't be destroyed. Whiptail is your go-to out, and it also increases the attack of your monsters very easily. But Thoroughblade is a little bit different. So Thoroughblade used to be very good for when you had extra rats in your hand. Like, you could just discard a rat, draw a card, and then go into your Tiger Mortar, bring back the rat, then do your standard plays. And the result would be you getting 1 extra draw. But now it's almost more valuable to normal summon rat than it is to summon Thoroughblade and discard the rat. Because when you normal summon the rat and send the Ram Ram, you're going to be able to bring that Ram Ram back with Leica, and that enables a lot more plays depending on what else you have. So if you have a Diagram or Barrage, some way that you can destroy that Ram Ram, you're going to be able to extend your plays by a pretty large margin. And it becomes a lot more valuable than that 1 extra draw that Thoroughblade will give you. 1 Lunalight Black Sheep, 1 Speedroid Ticktumborg, 3 Speedroid Terratop, and then we play 7 hand traps. We play 3 Ash Blossom, 3 Ghost Ogres, and then 1 Max C. I think this is a really fair middle ground between some of the decks this format. Like, some people are playing upwards of 12, 14 hand traps. I think that's just way too many. I don't like playing that many hand traps because it makes your deck worse going first. And even like going second, just like if you draw a hand of all hand traps, you're not going to be able to do anything. Especially if you draw them with your True Draco engine, which requires a lot more cards just to get going. So I wouldn't want to draw a hand of like, I don't know, 3 hand traps, Thoroughblade, Masterpiece. Like, sure, I'm going to be able to stop my opponent from doing anything, but I'm not doing anything on my turn. So that's why I didn't want to play too many hand traps. But of course you do want to play some hand traps so you just don't lose going second. And so I found 7 to be a very safe, solid, and fair number to play. And so that's it for the monsters. For the spell cards, we're going to start with 3 Diagram. Pretty obvious, it searches your Masterpiece, it searches your True Draco spell or traps, sets up those Draco plays, 3 Barrage and 3 Tanky for getting to your Zoodiac engine, 1 Fusion Substitute. I'm starting to consider 2 because those double Fusion Substitute plays are insane. Like, I mean, your plays are insane with just 1, but if you have a second one, it's just that much better. And then even drawing Fusion Substitute isn't that bad, because one of the best times to Ghost Dash against Zoodiacs is on the search of Fusion Substitute. So if you hard draw it, you take away that opportunity for your opponent to ash you, and also it just allows you to search for something different. So like normally most of your Broadbull searches are going towards Fusion Substitute, so it's really hard to get to a Whiptail sometimes, but if you hard draw the Fusion Substitute, that's going to allow you to get Whiptail, which overall makes your board stronger. So I am definitely considering a second Fusion Substitute. It's not really a brick, and it does raise the ceiling of the deck. Then we play 3 Terraforming to search the diagrams, 2 Instant Fusions, one of the best extenders in the deck. Like I said before, you can make insanely strong boards. Topping off those boards with an extra rank 4 is just sort of the icing on the cake, and I think we all like cake, right? 2 Cosmic Cyclones. I really like this over Twin Twisters because there is no better feeling in the world when your opponent activates a True Draco trap on your turn. They try to tribute summon, but then you chain a Cosmic Cyclone to it. Ooh, it just feels so good to do that. Like if it were a Twin Twisters, you're still gonna trigger the trap's graveyard effect and they're gonna like destroy your Dryden or something. But when it's a Cosmic Cyclone and you know they're getting no value out of that trap, it feels good. It also gives you information on their hand. It's just one of the better plays this format, I think. The Cosmic Cyclone's also good against regular Zoodiacs because you can banish like a Zoodiac Barrage. That way it's not gonna get the effect in the graveyard. You can also banish things like an Interrupted Kaiju Slumber. I've done that before, to where my opponent was gonna slumber me. I Cosmic Cyclone their slumber, that way they don't have the ability to banish it from the graveyard next turn because I had a follow-up play in my hand. So it's like they cleared my board, they couldn't kill me, I did my follow-up play, but then they weren't able to search that extra Kaiju, and so they couldn't get over my board after that. So Cosmic Cyclone is good against a lot of decks this format, but it's especially good against True Dracos, and so here's a treat for you guys. If you're interested in another True Draco deck profile, one that's more of a pure build, a Demise True Draco deck, I will put a link to that in the top right corner of the screen. Check that out if you get the chance. Just to sort of give you a contrast between the 2 different styles of True Dracos. And then the only spell card that I played is 1 True Draco Heritage, and of course you can see the only traps were 2 True King Returns. And so I only wanted to play 3 True Draco Speller traps because these are really sort of the bricks in your deck. These don't really work well with your Zoodiac engine. So if you draw like some hand traps, maybe 2 Zoodiac starter cards, and then a True Draco Speller trap, you bricked. Or you didn't brick, that's still a good hand, but you have 1 brick. And so I thought it would be best to minimize the number of these bricks. And now the reason I chose these specific True Draco Speller traps are because Diagram plus a trap allows you to search for Heritage, and that gives you like an Upstart Goblin type thing. And it's also really good in the mirror match and against standard True Dracos. But I only wanted 1 spell because you get more value out of tributing on your opponent's turn. That way what you tribute can disrupt your opponent. So that's why I wanted 1 spell, 2 traps. Now I chose Return over Apocalypse because Return does have a lot of value on the field. It lets you get your fallen masterpieces, your fallen kings, bring them back to the board. And even when you bring back a masterpiece, it's still like a 2950 beat stick, which is really, really good versus Apocalypse, which isn't necessarily useful in this deck because we do play so few True Draco Spell and traps. But now I do wish I played other traps. I do wish I could have space for like dimensional barriers in the main deck, especially after seeing the YCS Pittsburgh results. Those really make me want a main deck barrier. But I really wanted to keep this deck at 40 cards. I wanted to be as consistent as possible. And really the only flexibility that there is in the main deck is with the Instant Fusions, Cyclones, and then maybe like a Thoroughblade. So there really isn't very much flexibility in this deck if you want to keep it at 40, but I'll leave those changes up to you guys. And then for the extra deck, we have 1 Norden for Fusion Substitute and Instant Fusion, 1 MX Saber Invoker for your Terratops, and then for the Zoodiac Xyz monsters we play 1 Borbo, 1 Hammer Kong, 1 Tiger Mortar, 2 Laika, 2 Broadbull, and 2 Dryden. This is pretty standard, but one thing I am considering, and I have seen a few builds play this, but I would like to play a 3rd Dryden, because it does come up sometimes. And then for the other rank 4s, you played 2 Daigusto Emerald. Again, this is pretty standard as well. And then sort of the flex spots are 1 Tornado Dragon and 1 Abyss Dweller. And I really like Tornado Dragon against Zoodiacs. I also like it against a lot of rogue decks and then against True Dracos. But mainly against Zoodiacs, to where like half of their starter cards are continuous spells or field spells. And so you get a lot of value out of it that way. Like if you just look at this deck, you have Diagram, Barrage, and Tenki, all of which would be stopped by Tornado Dragon. So if you combine that with a Dryden, you're going to be able to stop like a Barrage and then a Rat, or Barrage and a Terratops. And it makes it really hard for your opponent to play the game going second. And then very similarly against True Dracos, you're able to destroy Diagram. You're able to destroy their continuous spells to keep them from tribute summoning on that turn. So you really get a lot of value out of Tornado Dragon. And then Dweller I really like against Dinos, and then again also against True Dracos. And so mainly one of the easiest ways for True Dracos to clear your board is that they're going to set a trap and then immediately use the tribute summon for like a Dynamite, a Maiden, or an Ignis. And then they're going to use that Trap's Graveyard effect to destroy your Dryden or whatever, forcing you to chain your Dryden to destroy their monster, which will allow them to chain their monster's effect to get another search. But if their Trap's not going to get that Graveyard effect, it doesn't force you to do anything, you have nothing to fear, and it helps you play around their deck even better because it just makes so many of their tribute summons a lot less free, which will ultimately help you out-resource them. And then against Dinosaurs, if they're not getting Grave effects, I don't know what they're going to do that turn. Like, it's going to shut down Miscellaneousaurus, the babies. They just can't really do much without either of those. So Dweller is very, very strong in this format. And then for the side deck, we're going to start with 2 Droll and Lockbirds. This is mostly for Demise True Draco because they have multiple draw and search cards. If they can resolve multiple ones, then you're going to have a tough time winning that game. Like if they can do Duality, Demise, Card of Demise, then probably do a Heritage for 2 or 3 cards. I mean, Disciples, they can just draw so many cards in a single turn. They can just out-resource you pretty easily if you don't have anything to stop it. And so like combining Droll and Lockbird with like Ghost Ash and then Ghost Ogre, it gives you a lot of answers to their draw cards. And then it's also pretty decent against Zoodiacs because a lot of times you're going to use your Broadbull to search a Lunalight Black Sheep. If you Droll and Lockbird them, then they're not going to be able to search for Fusion Sub, and they're not going to be able to draw any cards for Emerald. So you have saved yourself for a turn. And then next we have 3 Retaliating Seeds. Because of all of the Zoodiacs in YCS Pittsburgh, I think this is pretty necessary. 2 Gamesio, the Sea Turtle Kaiju, because there are monsters that you can't deal with otherwise. I do like it against True Dracos in case of Masterpiece, but then also just again against those indestructible monsters that any sort of rogue deck might make. Then next we have 1 Raigeki and 2 Dark Holes because board wipes are really strong right now. And then for the traps we have 2 Unending Nightmares. Unending Nightmare is probably one of my favorite cards in the side deck. It's really, really good against Zoodiacs, and it's very similar to Tornado Dragon, except Tornado Dragon's once per turn and this isn't. So like with Tornado Dragon, you're going to stop like 1 Diagram, 1 Barrage, or 1 Tinky. With Unending Nightmare, you're going to stop all 3. Like they're not doing anything that turn, and the really crazy thing is that this is one of the few cards that you can directly trade your life points for actual card advantage. And that makes it so powerful because this can be sometimes like a +2, +3. And if it lasts that turn and, you know, throughout the length of a duel, it can just net you so much advantage. And sure, it can cost you life points, but a lot of times it's definitely worth it. Then next we have 1 Imperial Order. And the final cards of the side deck are 2-dimensional barriers. Because again, with all those Zoodiac decks in top 32 of YCS Pittsburgh, I think this is definitely necessary to have either in your main or your side deck. And I really want to main it, but again, I couldn't think of the space, and so they had to end up in the side. But it's really one of the only cards in the game that guarantees you an extra turn against Zoodiacs. And like Torrential's probably the next best thing, but they can always sort of have an extra Barrage or a Terratop or an Instant Fusion that play after a Torrential Tribute. But with Barrier, you just know that their turn is, you know, it's ending soon. You get a next turn for sure. Alright guys, so here's that combo that I mentioned earlier. It's really awesome, and it's only a 2-card combo, so all you need is a Diagram and then a Zoodiac Rapier. So it's really consistent because you essentially have 6 Diagrams in your deck, and then you have, well, you have way more than 6 Rats. And so you're going to start it off by normal summoning the Rat, then you use Rat's effect to send a Ram to the graveyard, then you're going to overlay for a Borbo, use Borbo's effect to detach the Rat to special summon another Rat from your deck, then you go into Broadbull, over the Borbo, then use Broadbull's effect to search a Lunalight Black Sheep, which is then going to search you a Fusion Substitute. So this part's very normal, we all have gone through this a million times, but now you're going to overlay a Leica over the Broadbull and then use Leica's effect to bring back that Ram. So this is where it gets a little bit different. So now we're going to activate the Diagram, then use Diagram to destroy Ram, and then you're going to search any of your True Draco cards. Like it can be a Masterpiece, it can be a Succession, a Return. But you just want to search whatever you don't have. So if you happen to draw a Masterpiece, you're going to want to search a Spell or Trap. If you drew a Spell or Trap, you're going to want to search Masterpiece. But in this case, I am going to search the Heritage. So you're going to activate Ram's effect to bring back your Zoodiac Rapier. So then you're going to overlay both of those Rats into a Daigusto Emerald. And then you can use that Emerald's effect to shuffle back Rat and then any 2 other cards. Ideally, you should shuffle back the Broadbull and the Borbo. But it doesn't really matter because if you do this later in the game, you might have other cards you might want to shuffle back. But the only important thing to shuffle back is that Rat though. So then you're going to activate your Fusion Substitute and you're going to fuse the Norden with the Leica. Then use Norden's effect to special summon a Rat from the graveyard. Then you're going to Xyz for a Leica the hard way. And then since you have a Rat attached to that Leica, you can activate the effect to special summon a Rat from your deck. Then you can activate Leica's other effect to special summon Ram from the graveyard again. So now you're going to overlay a Hammer Kong over the Leica and then a Dryden over that. Then activate Dryden's effect to destroy the Ram. And then once again, Ram's going to let you special summon your Rat back from the graveyard. So now you have 2 Rats on the field, you have the ability to make another rank 4. So you can either go into another Daigusto Emerald, which is what you would want to do turn 1 in most cases. But if you know what your opponent's playing, there's sometimes better options. So you might want to go into Tornado Dragon, maybe Abyss Dweller, but you do have the flexibility to choose what you want. So here we're going to go into a Daigusto Emerald, and then we're going to shuffle back, of course, the first Emerald, and then really nothing else necessarily matters. Maybe the Leica, since you want to have another Leica in your extra deck, but it's not super important, and again, it does depend on your game state. So like maybe you use some hand traps that you want to shuffle back and possibly draw. Then afterwards, you're able to use Fusion Substitutes effect to draw again. And so this is a 2-card combo where all you had was a rat and a diagram, and you're going to end with a rank 4 Trident, and then you have the card that you searched with a diagram, and then you're going to draw 3 more cards. So that's really, really powerful. And there are many other variations of this that depend on like your 3rd, 4th, and 5th card. Like if you have an instant fusion with this or a barrage with this, then of course you can do a few different plays. But this is sort of the basic starting point of these combos. But alright guys, thanks for watching. This has been my Zoodiac True Draco deck profile. And as I mentioned in the last True Draco deck profile, I am working on a True Draco guide, and it will be uploaded this weekend. I'm thinking probably Saturday night. I'm going to try to have it done. And so definitely check back on Saturday for that True Draco guide. It's going to have a lot of tips, tricks, and how to play True Dracos on the highest level possible. And so you definitely want to subscribe so that you're going to be notified when that video goes up. But as always guys, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.